We all tell the same lie. And we mean it when we say it. And I still do it sometimes. And I know I don't mean it when I say it. And here's what we say. And some of us say it in a very unctuous way. What we say is, I just want my child to be happy. And what we really mean by happy is productive. I'm going to give you 2 very easy things to do. These are so easy. The first one is for your child's birthday, in addition to a gift, not in lieu of, and this is really important, because with small children especially, philanthropy should be a wonderful experience, not a sense of loss. And I know a lot of families who say, my kid has too many toys, I'm going to take a bunch of their toys, when they're not ready to give them up. So they're real interested in giving up stuff, right? So for your child or your grandchild's birthday, ask them some of these questions. 1, how would you change the world in the next year? What's made you happy and what's made you sad? And I started with my children when they were 5. They're now 35 and 37. And my oldest grandson, who's 7, when he was 5, I asked him, what's made you happiest in the last year? And he said, riding my bicycle. And I said, who should we give money to make this a better world? And he said, I don't know. Who works with bicycles? And I said, TrailNet. And so his first donation was to TrailNet. Next week, my other grandson is turning 5. And I said, where's your favorite place to go in St. Louis? And he said, nothing really makes me sad. Life's pretty good. And he said, Eli, my brother, who is his newest brother, is kind of irritating. And I said, we can't do anything about that. A 14-month-old, one of your wishes cannot be to be an only child. We're not going to go there. So he said the Science Center. So we're going to go to the Science Center next week and make his first donation. And it's a very simple thing. And it's not a big donation. I'm not building a building. There will be no Wiseman Hall at the Science Center. But he's very excited about it. And so you can try this at any age. I still do it for my own children at 35 and 37, and now I also do it for my daughter-in-law. So try simple things with your kids, and they will come through for you. I promise you, but it will be in their own way. Thanks so much.
As they said, I am a Ferguson commissioner. Unless you were on the moon in the last 2 years, you probably know where Ferguson is. There were a lot of people before this didn't know where Ferguson was located. I had people from my family calling me from long distance wanting to make sure my home was not burning. And I had to reassure them that Ferguson was a little small town, about 2.5 square miles with about 22,000 people. As I was looking at all this developing, I kept saying to myself, boy, I am so glad I'm not involved in that, because that is going to be a mess. And so Governor Nixon came up with the Ferguson Commission, and he was looking for some volunteers. And I learned back in 1973 when I volunteered to go to the Army that you don't volunteer. So I did not volunteer. I was volunteered, which is sometimes somebody volunteers you and you don't know it. But so also of being that black police officer, I also had experience of being a black man for 60 years. And that's where I got most of my experience from. And being able to put those two together and be able to bring that information to the commission, I was able to see a little bit of both sides of this because I've lived both sides of it. And when you live both sides of something, you're a little bit more, you're open-minded. You're not so quick to judge and point fingers and say this person's right, this person's wrong. I try to teach a lot of the commissioners that we have to be very careful. Generalizations of people is what's caused a lot of problems in this country right now. All policemen aren't bad, and all protesters aren't criminals. And until we start trying to stop generalizing each other and trying to paint everybody with the same brush, we're going to continually keep having these problems. The lenses that we see things, we both could be correct. That's the thing that I want to leave you with tonight, is that when we disagree on how we see things, that doesn't mean I'm wrong and you're right, or you're right and I'm wrong. It just means that our background, our education, what we've gone through in our lives has caused us to see things differently. And what we did learn, and this is from Albert Einstein, one of my favorite smart people in the world. One of his favorite quotes, and it reads, "The world will not be destroyed by those that do evil, but by those of us who watch them without saying or doing anything to stop them." We as police officers, and I talk to a lot of my cohorts about this, and I'm talking with a lot of the chiefs in the St. Louis area, and what we have to start doing is getting people to understand that this blue line, this blue wall, this thing that we have out there that, you know, it's almost as bad as back in the hood where you've got the no snitching. You know, we've got that in the police departments. And if we're going to rid ourselves of these police officers that are out there doing things that they shouldn't be doing, then we need to start turning them in, because we all deserve better policemen, right? I think we all want better policemen. Let me close with this. And this is something that I think goes back to all of us as far as our lenses and how we see things. Watch your thoughts, for they become your words. Watch your words, for they become your actions. Watch your actions, for they become your habits. Watch your habits, for they become your character. Watch your character, for it becomes your destiny. Thank you for inviting me.
Let me start off with sort of my mantra and mission. It took me a long time to figure out why I do what I do. I'm a developmental psychologist. All my undergraduate, graduate degrees and so on are all in developmental psychology. What I know is children and adolescents development. Not a clinician. I don't do the abnormal stuff. I'm not a psychotherapist. I'm just a useless egghead who studies how kids become whatever they become and tries to try to foster that. And I'm also Jewish. And in the Jewish tradition, we have a core virtue, core value. It's called tikkun olam in Hebrew, which means to heal the world. And the idea is that all of us, by virtue of being human and being here on this planet, have a moral obligation to leave the world a better place than we entered it, to be value added, to try to make the world better. There's no future without children, and there's no moral future without moral children. The only way, ultimately, we will ever build a better world is by investing in the development of the next generation. And children are not as valued here as they ought to be, because they don't generate capital. They cost capital. And that is about as wrong-headed as we can be, because we will destroy our world if we look at children through the lens of the marketplace and commodification. We fail miserably in this country in investing in children in the way that so many other countries do more effectively. But good character consists of three things: understanding, caring about, and acting upon core ethical values. The mnemonic device at the top is the head, heart, and hand. Okay, 3 H's. The head is understanding, the heart is caring about, and the hand is acting upon. The biggest pieces that I want to play out for you are moral character and performance character. And they're both important. But boy, there's some prioritization here. Moral character is the part of you that leads you to want to and be able to do good in the world, to do the right thing, the moral thing. Performance character is the part of you that leads you to work hard and do excellent work at whatever you do. It's only little over the last half century in America that we've lost our way and think that school is just about learning. It's just about academics. And we're killing our schools because of it. And we're killing our children because of it too, because it doesn't work. Relationships have to be strategic and intentional goals of schools and between all stakeholders. You people in this room are a problem. Because you are demanding that our schools give kids rewards, give kids prizes, have assemblies where they march these kids across the stage to say, this month, these are the 6 kids in the school who had character. And you are killing character in kids and you're killing character in schools because it's the teachers and the parents that are nuts about this. The kids don't need it, and the research says it's harmful, and it reduces the likelihood that kids will take the values, put them inside their hearts, and carry them with them for the rest of their lives. Charles Barkley said, I'm not a role model. What he meant was, please don't choose me as a role model just because I'm good at basketball. Copy my basketball moves? Fine. Don't make me your personal role model because I'm good at basketball. What he knew was that role modeling is not a personal choice. You have no say in whether you're a role model. Every educator is a role model. It's up to the kids who look up to you. And every educator has to model the good. We live in a democracy. The Founding Fathers said the only way this democracy survives if we have virtuous democratic citizens. We are failing miserably at trying to create virtuous democratic citizens. The democracy is fraying woefully all around the edges and partly at the core. And large part is because our schools are more like prisons than they are like democracies. Voices are being stilled. Everyone's voice should matter in every sphere of life. And children are learning their voices don't matter. They have no say in what they're taught, how they're evaluated, how they're disciplined, and they're treated like prisoners by benevolent wardens and prison guards. And so we need to open up our schools to make them more democratic. Let the kids' voices sing. They will oftentimes outthink us, and they will grow and flourish and become good people because we respected their voices and cared about them and modeled it for them. And then you'll have the communities you want. Thank you.
I have found no greater truths than these, is that you are good and you are loved. You are good and you are loved. These are central tenets in just about every major religion and belief system. That as human beings, we are created good. And that as human beings, we are loved beyond measure. It is the dream and the hope of our hearts. And whether or not we trust and believe this makes more difference than I believe anything else in the world. Because if we believe that we are good, and we believe that we are loved, and if we don't just believe it individually, but if we have each other's backs and we can believe that for each other, then there is no limit. There is no ceiling on what we can do. But the flip side is also true. The flip side is if I doubt that I'm good, and if I doubt that I'm loved, then fear comes in. Then I don't believe that I'm good. I don't believe that I'm loved. And I've got this hole inside right here. And I, out of fear, am tempted to fill it with something else. And maybe I'll fill it with work, or maybe I'll fill it with alcohol, or maybe I'll fill it with drugs, or maybe I'll fill it with sex, or maybe I'll fill it with checking my cell phone every 15 minutes to see if someone liked what I said on Facebook. But I will try to fill it with something because I am so afraid this is not true. So we know that we're created good, but the problem is we do bad things. So we're created good, but we do bad things. And both of these things are true. And the problem is the second one makes us doubt the first. Is that when we do bad things, which we do it all the time. I do 15 before breakfast. But makes us doubt the first. And when that happens, we're going to try this. This happens, which is shame. We start not believing that we're good people, and we become ashamed of ourselves, and we want to hide it. And we hate that feeling of shame. And guilt is when you say, I have done something bad. And shame is, I am bad. Now, the difference between the two of these is all the difference in the world. Because if I believe that what I have done bad is me doing something bad, and if you come to me and confront me with something that I have done bad, and I believe in my goodness and I believe in my lovability, well, then we have a process of reconciliation for that. Because I'm a good person. That doesn't mean you're saying I'm not a good person. I believe in my goodness. I believe in my lovability. So I can examine what I've done wrong. I can admit the wrongdoing, and then I can say, what does it mean to repair the damage? The last speaker spoke of that great phrase, tikkun olam, the repair of the world. How can I help repair the damage? And then how can I change my life so it doesn't happen again? And then if I have wounded you, how can we be whole together, knowing that we are both created good and that we are both beloved? But if I don't trust in my own goodness and belovedness, then I go into that place of shame, the I am bad. And that's that place we go when someone says, I love you, I believe that you're good, and that voice inside our head said, oh, if they only knew. If they only knew blank about me. And there are 3 hallmarks to an addictive family system. It's don't talk, don't trust, and don't feel. Don't talk means you do not speak the truth of the system. Because once you name it, that's the first step to challenging it and changing it and tearing it down. In other words, you don't air the family's dirty laundry. We do not talk about dad's drinking problem. We don't talk about that. The second is don't trust. Because an addict will say anything to protect their fix. And so you do not trust, you cannot believe anything the people in power in the addictive system say. And the final thing is you don't feel, because feelings are truth. Feelings are unpredictable. Feelings are real. Because about 15 months ago, something happened that unfortunately was not that unusual. And that was a young black man was shot and killed by a police officer in an American city. In this case, it was in Ferguson, Missouri. But then something happened that was unusual. And that was young black women and men saw his body laying on the street for 4.5 hours and decided that they had had enough. Decided that this had to stop. Decided that they had had pain and rage that had been put down for too long, and someone was going to listen to them, and that they would not be shut down. And in fact, it was their turn to start shutting some things down. I became uncomfortable with the anger because I was not used to this kind of anger. I became uncomfortable with the pain because I was not used to this kind of pain. I became uncomfortable with how this made me feel. This made me feel guilty. I was uncomfortable with my own feelings of culpability, of blame for benefiting from a system that I was learning that allowed such incredible disparity. And I forgot some interesting things. I forgot that I was created good. I forgot that I was beloved. And I began slipping into shame. And I hated that feeling. And I wanted it to stop so bad. She said, right now you are feeling uncomfortable. And you are used to, whenever you're feeling uncomfortable, doing something and getting comfortable again. And that's what you're trying to do. She said, you got a big heart, but you got to stop. You need to sit down in your discomfort. You need to listen and listen and listen and listen some more. And then when you're done, you need to listen and listen and listen and listen some more. And then the only thing you need to say is to the people you've been listening to, you need to say, did I hear you correctly? Fictive kinship is a sociological term, and it means that when we form bonds of loyalty and obligation with each other that are not based on blood or marriage, that they are as deep, if not deeper. What I found myself invited into was a family of fictive kinship. And this family used words to describe itself. Words like family, solidarity, and love. And I realized this was one of the purest, healthiest communities I'd ever been involved in. And then when I thought about it, I realized, whoa, wait a minute here. Family, solidarity, love, talk, trust, feel. That this was a community that was trying to be different, that was trying to be healthy, that was trying to speak a truth that for decades, if not generations, had been told to them was unspeakable. But then I had to look at the flip side. And what I had to realize as I looked around about how we as a region were reacting to the uprising in Ferguson was to realize that we were mirroring the behaviors of an addictive family system. We have to try to believe that we're good. We have to try to believe that we are beloved. That when we have done something wrong, it doesn't mean that we are bad and that nothing can change that. And that means that we do not need to act out of fear. And then we need to sit down in our discomfort. We need to go from command and control and shame and blame to open up and listen. And we need to listen deeply and listen and listen and listen some more. We need to build relationships of fictive kinship. We talk about the need for reconciliation. Reconciliation is a theological concept. It literally means to switch places with the other. Until we switch places with each other, until we stand where each other stands, until we learn each other's names, until we get to the point where we realize that continuing the way that we have been is an absolute betrayal of people we adore. This is not going to change. And then finally, we have to recognize the key truth that you have to feel to heal. You have to feel to heal. And that when rage and pain is being expressed, we need to resist the temptation that comes out of our discomfort and our fear to slam it down. And instead, we need to surround it with love and let the pain and the anger express itself. Dr. King said the riot is the language of the unheard. And what that means is when there is rage and pain felt, that there is something there for us to listen to. And if we do not listen to it now, if we do not guard it now, we not only do that to our own poverty, we guarantee that our future generations will be right back here again where we are. Thank you.